Alrighty.
Good evening, everybody. Looks like we've had some more discussions on Sean's truth about Horizon again. It seems that either they just don't get it, or it's like we're talking in two different languages. So either we have to pick a common language, or completely rewrite the books and all start learning again from scratch. Then we'll be
Well,
all on the
that's
same
that's
page.
that's one reason I try to be pretty insistent about using language specifically when I talk. For example, conjecture versus theory or assertion versus theory, because we've got to speak the same language if we're going to hash this out.
Yeah. I constantly keep hearing words that they say, but they don't gel in an explanation that makes sense. And I'm only learning myself from the time I've been on YouTube watching all this going down, and I just cannot see what is their problem. They just seem to have.
Well, I think some of it has to do with. Uh, don't let me rephrase that. I think a significant portion of that has to do with improper use of language, creating new terms to try and lump together a bunch of known and understood uh, branches of optics, for example, the ether band, or I don't see a curve, so therefore there is no curve. You've got to understand what you're saying and how it relates to reality, and try to clarify rather than obfuscate or create something new that can be argued about on top of everything else that's already being argued about.
Yeah, I'm just responding to somebody in the side chat. Peter, yes, I'm just having a little bit of a get together after Sean's hangout. That I missed out on commenting most of it, but we can discuss it now. This Horizon thing's just been going around for, well, I think it's about a week now, from what I can see. With what started off with this ether band or whatever, and then I don't know where they're
Well,
going to keep going with, where they're going to get to.
it's in cycles. I mean, a couple of weeks ago it was Coriolis. I mean, you couldn't smack somebody hard enough to make them shut up about the Coriolis, and
Yeah,
now you never hear about it.
it'll come back. It'll go around in a circle. That's
Yep,
that, and
yep. When the Coriolis topic gets cold again, somebody will dredge it up, and here we go again.
who was the one that brought up the ether band? That was Travis, wasn't it? Or
Correct, plain truth.
yeah, the Coriolis. I think they seem to still have a problem with the north to south, east to west effects as well. I've been hearing about that as well.
Yeah, yeah, but that's quiet for now. So you know, Bob did. Bob the Science Guy did a really good video about the Coriolis and the Aetwas effect, which is the east to west directly, and that's definitely well worth watching.
I haven't caught up on a lot of recent videos, so but even going by what, knowing that people are out there showing what should be, I don't even have to even watch half of them to just know what they'd be showing is what we do see. But it's trying to explain at a level that's understandable, but then get questioned with
Um,
minor details. It's just
I
so.
don't know if it's understandable so much as palatable. I think what might be a better term because it seems a lot of them don't like chewing on that.
they their explanations is always it's a different level. It's they either got no mechanical or an aptitude that's I call it like a people that have got like a photo, was it photo mind or my words are bloody terrible when I'm trying to remember a word. Photographic memory. That's it. Um, and
There's
then we'll
actually a term for that, but I can't remember what it is.
yeah they
Ah,
yeah
it's eidetic memory.
Eidentic memory, yeah. That it's recalling something, either what they see, but they can't see the detail. I don't know. I'm at a loss sometimes with even trying to explain the basic. Like, if you don't bring maths into it, well, that's the side of it that sometimes happens. You'll talk about an observation, but then they'll bring the math into it, which is a subject that I was going to look at later on, which is they keep getting confused with the 8 inches per square mile or mile squared or whatever it is for the
Oh
horizon.
God, don't even get me started on that.
It's not even our bloody calculation. It's Mr. Robotham who brought that in.
And it's okay for short distances, but it's still, I mean, it's not accurate at short distances even, but it's kind of a pretty good rule of thumb over short distances. But then, they're saying, well, at 100 miles, 8 inches per mile squared, we shouldn't even see this mountain range. Well, we're not on a parabola.
No. I'll get my mind around some of this math stuff as time gets on. But first, I'll have to start from the basics, find out where the problems are first, and then start. Well, I've learned about how a triangle works. If you've got three sides of now I've even forgotten the numbers. I know it's a triangle.
1, 1, and 1.
5, 5, and 5.
See, I can't even remember that just straight off. I know the answer then. It's 33. No? Not 33? Why have I got 33 on my mind lately the last couple of days? There's a 33 going around. Everything's 33. You ask the question, I'll give you the answer. 33.
Not 42.
Well, 42 is a little bit more than 33.
Yeah, no, but if you take 42
well, actually,
and
it's
you minus
9,
1 from...
and that's 9 more, so that's 3 threes. So 3 threes is 33. There you go, 42.
Yeah, also, here's the other calculation. If you take the 4 and minus the 1 and then add that 1 to the 2, you get 33.
Well, yeah, we can play around with maths all we want now.
Yeah, it's woo.
Well, this is a bit of well, the answer is actually 1 0 1 0 1 0, Peter. Okay.
If you're doing binary, yes.
Yeah, binary, yeah. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to get any more.
Nobody wants to play.
I don't know. Mr. Gadget says, what's CR?
BR?
I don't know. What's CR? Then he wrote cracking. I don't know. Speak it English. You're the man. Sean says you're the man tonight, Peter.
Can I ask a question?
I don't know. Can you?
All right, real quick. How do I put my picture or an image in the background here instead of my name?
Oh no! When you signed in, hey Carlos, when you signed in to Zoom, if you're on a phone, don't ask me.
All right.
But if you're on the computer and you download Zoom and it comes up onto your computer and it'll open up a window to say join.
Mm-hmm.
But then it'll say you to sign in with Google. And then when you sign in with Google, it'll take your avatar from Google into Zoom. And then you paste the link into there. I'm teaching a lot of people how to get this Zoom going because it's the alternative to Meets. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I'm normally on my mobile, so.
Well, you've got to have an avatar in here because you look naked without it.
By the way, the number 42 in base 13 is 33.
Oh. Shields, stop it.
I like numbers.
Come on, I was watching you guys debating this out with Travis, and every time you asked him for a measurement or a mathematical equation, he just waved it
Shut
away.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we
Yeah.
wake you
And
up,
I take.
Carlos? Sorry, Pitchell, I was just
The what?
asking Carlos, did I wake you up?
No, man. I'm just here. I was eating some fruit rounds.
Yeah, I was looking at the time zone difference and I'm going, yeah, some of you guys should be still up at this time of night.
No, it's
I'm
almost midnight.
my sleeping habits are totally fucked. I could be awake for half an hour, then sleep for an hour, then be awake for 12 hours, then sleep for 2, and then be awake for 1, and then be asleep for 5. You know,
Well, if you
I
sleep
I,
for
I
the
never
if you
know.
sleep for the 1 hour, I can come. We'll wake you up in an hour. That's okay. But the 6 hour one, no, I don't think I can manage
Hey,
that.
in that in that 7 hour Zoom meet we had, the
Mm,
last one,
mm.
I actually had one of my sleeps in the middle of that.
Oh, well, that's fine. On the Allen's after show.
He does
I
that.
think I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you could probably get away with a snooze in between. I did. I actually went to bed and woke up and came out, and oh yeah, they're still going. So I went back to bed, and then when I woke up later, they were all finished. So I was going to jump on, but I was too a bit hard to talk when you're asleep. Maybe I might have made
And
sense.
I made my decision between a few fried potatoes and some applesauce. I am having rum. I am having rum.
Okay. Well, you can contemplate on what you're having while you're having the rum.
Nah, I'll just have the rum.
Well, I'll just have the rum. Okay. That
Rum
solves
is
a lot
good.
of.
Rum is good food.
Now, what else
Liquid
did I
diet.
miss out on? Sean's. You're back now, Curtis.
Yeah,
You
yeah. I
still, yeah.
closed the wrong window.
Oh, okay. So when you all learn to come into Zoom, you'll have all the Zoom apps ready on your phone and on your computer, and then when you come into here, you'll be all set with your avatars. Because this will be a common occurrence, whether it be Sean's. I might do a Sean one maybe once a week or whenever I catch Sean. I don't know what days that'll be at my time. And the Jose Gonzalez one, I was trying to do a pre-show maybe the odd day of the week in between my normal day, and then I'd get enough people to work out the Zoom, and away we go. We're seeing
You know,
Carlos's. Is that the replay of
you,
that, isn't it, Carlos? Isn't it?
Do what?
hey,
That's the replay of what you did do.
Yeah, this is
hey,
on Sean G's one a while
Yeah,
back.
yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
hey, Terry.
Mm.
Something you may want to consider proposing to Alan and Jose is maybe alternate between your 3 channels, the show and the after show.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't
That
know.
would
I don't know about Alan. Like he does it really late for me, but the pre-show time zone for me is not too bad. Um, but then I can work
well.
out the time between everyone.
But what I'm getting at is between the 3 of you, that would give each one of you a day off every couple of days.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's something to consider. Just thought I'd throw it out there on the table.
Yeah. All
Is that
suggestions
table
are
flat?
Well, we have to check the table to see if it's got a curve in it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see if it's level or flat.
Or both.
Could be a curved table.
A curved table that's flat.
Yes.
Ooh.
Ooh. Who was I
How's
discussing
that?
this? Who was I discussing that with there one night about a shelf? And then we were talking about the water level experiment for the horizon, and the person couldn't even understand the difference between using a spirit level on the shelf to get it level, and or using a water level even to get your shelf level, and then using the same water level to measure out to the horizon. They couldn't even grasp their mind around the difference of how to check for both between the two.
Oh, who was that? I
Oh,
do remember.
yeah.
Um,
I vaguely remember it, but don't recall who.
Peter knows who it is, and I think I thought it was too. Yeah, Flat Earth Ozzie Jesus. Yeah. Well, that brings it back to the other thing that I was talking about earlier, that I was bringing up about the mind grasping shapes and having photographic memory and eidetic memory and all that, where you have to visualize something in your own mind to either explain it or see it. Now, if you can't even see it in real life, what something's explained, well, then you're going to have a problem explaining it. And that's where I do notice a lot of problems. You can't, these flat earthers or people with that type of mindset just cannot explain something they see.
Well, to explain something new, we have to relate it to something that we already understand and know. Like, for example, how would you describe a mountain?
That big thing that gets in the way of my driving.
Okay. Well, so that thing with the leaves on it, is that what you're talking about? No. What is a mountain? What does it look like?
A lump in the land.
Yeah, you
A
can say
lump
in the land, yeah.
So
Big.
Blueberry Hill is a mountain.
Oh, no, a mountain.
But it's a lump.
Yeah, a mountain would have to be a certain size, wouldn't it? It'd have to be something significant, but not a hill.
See, but that's what I'm getting at. You have to say, okay, a mountain is like a hill, but a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So that's what I was getting at when I'm saying you've got to relate it to something that we already know.
Hmm.
Comparative. Yeah, something comparative. Yeah.
And this ether band. That's one of several objections I have to it, is the fact that there is nothing we can compare it to except to say that it encompasses all these other things that we've already got well defined. We already understand, so why create a category and talk about, all these separate effects as if they're a single thing? And that's one of my main objections to this whole ether band thing.
Yeah, he calls it ether band, and we call it atmospheric conditions.
Yeah. I mean, at least we can agree on the same thing, that it's caused by the different things, and at least that. But it's just the fact that he's just coming up with a new name. It's like the whole atmospheric dome of vision. I'm like, what the heck?
By the way, debate is spelled with an extra E. You got an extra A in there.
Oh, you debate.
Dabate.
That sounds more fun anyway.
Couldn't you?
True.
I did it real fast, trying to troll Chris when he was on the Zoom meet earlier today.
That reminds me of a fun little YouTube channel I ran across a while back. It's called Dabchick. That's Dabchick, one word.
Dabchick, yeah.
Dabchick, and it's this English puppeteer, and one of his primary puppets is named Dabchick, and it is hilarious. And I do recommend it. And it's just the adventures of this little puppet, and for the Dabchick episodes. But then he also talks about how he makes his puppets and things like that. Pretty interesting stuff, but still very funny. And I do recommend it. And it's G-rated, so you can share it with your kids.
Oh, at least. Yeah, I'm very selective on what I ever let my kids watch, because you never know. I almost never play YouTube while my kids are around, because I may go to a video that I would think it would be okay. And
can't you screen that sort of stuff in any settings for like parental?
Yeah, you can set up your YouTube so it's set up in G-rated.
I don't let them on YouTube. I'm saying, like, when I'm watching and they're there, I'm very careful. Like, I just watch stuff that I know, because every once in a while I'll look up something and somebody's reviewing it, probably something. All of a sudden they drop an F-bomb. I'm like, well,
he doesn't want his kids seeing him watch midget porn.
Well, he could say it's a science channel and it's something to do with anatomy and the physics of anatomy or something. It's a documentary.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's a documentary on how you got here.
Well, I used to whenever my kids were very little, my wife didn't want them saying stupid, so one time I was watching something and somebody said stupid, and I said, "Oh, Superman," make it think that they didn't say stupid, they say Superman, and then I did it so many times that after a while, every time my daughter heard that somebody say stupid, she'll say Superman, and it was so funny. It's just so weird because I did it 2 or 3 times. Every time somebody said stupid, I said, "No, they say Superman."
Yeah.
And
I actually had the same rule in my house. We didn't say stupid. We said ludicrous, ridiculous,
yeah.
things like that. But no, not stupid.
Yeah, for the longest time, anytime her cousin said stupid, she would go Superman, and they would say, "Why does she say that?" I said, "Well, it's my fault."
Yeah. I've had my kids say things that were my fault before, and oh boy, was I embarrassed.
Yeah, I saw. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you don't realise these things until later on in life, when your kids grow up and they're starting to say those things to their own kids. And then you look and go, "Hey, what are you saying that to my grandson for or grandchild?" And you're thinking, and then they'll look at you and go, "Well, I learnt it off you."
Yeah.
well, I told y'all the story about the first time I took my little one out to a restaurant. Did I tell you guys that one?
No, I don't remember that one.
Okay, I'll try to shorten it up as much as I can, but this is I am not a fan of children, young children in restaurants. They're screaming, raising hell.
Oh yeah.
So for her first time, we waited until she was a toddler and could kind of contain herself a little bit, and we took her to a very very casual restaurant. Okay, and so she was hanging out in the booth, mom on one side, me on the other, and she's standing in the booth, digging on her finger foods, got the olives on the tips of her fingers and stuff like that, and having a good old time. And these two old ladies sitting in the booth behind us were going, "Oh, look at that cute little girl over there." And she realized that the old ladies behind her were talking about her. So she turns around, and the size of the booth, just her nose and the top of her head stuck up above the back of the seat. So you could just see like nose, eyes, and hair. And then her little fingers over the top of the booth. She looks at him and she goes, "What the hell are you looking at?" And you could hear the dentures fall out of their mouth. And I turned and I looked at him. I said, "I'm sorry, ladies. I don't know where in the hell she gets that." And I kind of pushed my little one down to the seat to get her below eye level.
Like, get out of the way.
But the look on their face.
Children do see things in a different aspect to what we do. When you're grown up, the things that they'll come out with or say or do.
But I really appreciated the further shock on their face when I said, "I don't know where in the hell she gets it."
Oh yeah, I dare to say you say that by saying that. Yeah, fair.
Well, it does. You think it reflects on the parent, but not all the time.
Well, in my case, it does.
Yeah, it depends on the thing. But I was about to say, you said you weren't a big fan of young kids. I was like, you're just not a big fan of bad parenting.
Yeah, that's it. That's much.
Yeah.
Well, from birth.
Why won't Chris debate you?
Well, because he's a soy boy.
He's a soy boy.
What's wrong with enjoying soybeans?
Well, if you're gonna have milk, get it from a cow. It's got to come from a nipple, or it's not milk at all.
That's right.
I like them both personally.
That's like your opinion, man.
Well, look, I'm sorry, but like I don't know. And I asked him. I said, "Dude, three times now." I was like, "Let's debate," But he just said he doesn't have time or whatever. But his little video he was showing.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, what's your point? We all know that you can cast a shadow on a surface from the light source above the surf. I'm like, I guess he thought he was replicating the picture of Mount Rainier casting a shadow on the clouds. from the top where the cloud ceiling was lower than the mountain. I'm like, dude. I mean, it's like I don't know what you're doing.
I could
Anyway.
never understand that experiment. I'd
Yeah,
have to watch it.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
thing.
the albedo of a smooth concrete floor or a desktop is much higher than it would be for terrain. And so I think that in those cases, that right there pretty much nullifies their demonstration.
And even then, he kept arguing with me that that was a very sharp and defined shadow, and it wasn't. It was a
It was
shadow,
not.
but it was not sharp. That's the point. It's like, dude, if yes, I'm sure you could achieve getting a light scattering from a surface and back up when the light source is high. I said, yes, there's no doubt about that. You could, in fact, cast somewhat of a shadow. I said, but it's not. It's never gonna be sharp like the photographs we see of the mountain. That's the point. Because, like I said, originally Sean Hawkins said it's not possible to cast a shadow on the cloud with the sun being above. But because he didn't say from the light source, then Chris Berry went and find a way around. So, oh look, I'm bouncing light off of the ground and then casting a shadow. And I was like, well, it doesn't look sharp like it does on real life.
Yeah,
And,
but the shadow is supposed to come from underneath the cloud, not above the cloud. You can't see through a fucking cloud.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Oh, you got to go, Curtis. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that means we'll have to bring out a whole new video with just how shadows work, regardless of what we're using it for, the mountain or underlit cloud or whatever. Just how shadows work in general.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
and it's sad that we have to get down to
well, that's
such things. But
well, I reckon we have to bring it back down to the fundamentals and the basics of what they're trying to debate or debunk or whatever.
Look, if they get these basic concepts are wrong, and they're very basic. If they get so many of those wrong, so frequent, I mean that goes to show. I mean, it wouldn't take much
But that's
for them
what
to draw.
happens. They'll show the basics, and then what do? We just go straight over the top of them with the high math formulas, all this type of stuff. And then and then they'll argue about it with that. And then if we go back to what they're trying to say, but bring it back the other opposite direction, then we've got more to play with, because then they've got to come backwards, not forwards.
It's like when Jared Nissen was so confused about the shadow of the astronaut. I couldn't. I was like, I don't understand how this guy is so confused about it.
What, the shadow on the moon when they're on the moon, or?
Yeah, it was. I made a video about it because basically it was the camera on the rover, and then an astronaut walked from the left side, driver's side of the rover.
Yep,
to the,
I saw that.
Yeah, to the right side, passenger side of the rover, and of course, because the light source was behind the, coming from behind the rover.
I'd play that if I had that put away, but I haven't got that one yet.
Yeah. The shadow.
Yeah, you even built a model.
Oh.
What? What's that?
You even built a model, didn't you?
Yeah, that's the video that Bob the Science Guy featured on his channel, and it's like that was so simple, and he's like, this doesn't make any sense, this, and I'm going like, well, okay, so first it doesn't make sense to him. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean they faked it? Okay, so how does that explain being fake? Like, because the shadow changed, like, what is there multiple lighting? I'm like, dude, so that's why I was like, I have to make a video and just break this down. And then, of course, 2 days later, it's like, oh yeah, I made an experiment in my house and figure out that how the lights, the shadows were changing. And I'm going like, but 2 days ago you were so sure that you had something, you had some dirt on NASA because these shadows didn't make sense. And then you realize you were wrong. I was like, just think about the fact that was so simple and you thought you had something, and that's basically all your arguments. You think you have something.
Who's got the footage of that on their channel or whatever for that section
Me.
of? Oh, you have. Okay.
I don't understand it. Therefore, conspiracy.
I'd like to pull it up just as a reference.
Yeah,
so people.
1 second. I'll find it. It is on my other channel. Let's see. I have 2 channels. I got Mr. Gadget, which is just my little experiments and stuff, and then Carlos Pagan, where I do the flat Earth. But I've been doing some of the flat Earth stuff, about 3 videos.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Here we go.
Yep, I've got my usual channel, and I've got unpaid shows for the flat Earth stuff.
Yep. Gotta separate them. It's so funny. I was all I needed was 1,000 subscribers on my main channel to get remonetized, and I only got 500, but I got 1,500 on my Carlos Pagan one. Let's see.
I might do a mirror of yours then if I get your channel here, and I'll mirror something for you.
Yeah, you don't have to play the audio. You just go towards the middle where I'm showing the video. Let's see. Yep, up there.
Okay. Yeah, that's your experiment. Yeah, but I was looking for the original footage of what you're replicating.
Oh,
yeah,
shoot.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah. Seeing the replication of the video is not good to me. I'm seeing it in the side. There's a side view of it.
Yeah, hang on. I'll be able to find it for you. Actually, just I messaged somebody.
I'll save that.
Oh man, they took away the messages on YouTube. Forgot about that. Yeah. That's where I had to say because I sent it to Bob.
Okay, Min Shadows explained the response to Jennings. Okay.
There
we go.
Hey, Terry.
Yeah?
For about the last few months, I've been watching clips from the Curiosity Show that are on YouTube. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Pretty cool little show.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm an old man and I enjoy it, even though it's for kids.
I can remember rushing home from school to see those guys.
Yeah, had to be home by 3:30.
Hey, I can understand why. I had Julia Sumner Miller.
Yeah, we had him too.
I want to do him too. We had him here too. We had him here.
He used to sell our chocolate for us.
Yeah, he's spent a few years working down in Australia. I actually on my channel, I've got an entire Julia Sumner Miller playlist, 46 videos of his.
Wow,
that's awesome.
That's on your channel? Okay, we'll have to get that.
Yeah. What I've been doing is maintaining playlists categorized by topic, and I'm trying to add to it as time goes on.
So, unplayed shills, just something you were talking about earlier about like the whole, I don't understand it, therefore conspiracy. I think that's a very pertinent thing because, even when I was speaking with Arwen the other day in Jose's, I tried to keep a civil and level head while I was speaking to him.
It's difficult, ain't it?
Well, yeah, it's all right. I had a couple of Valium beforehand, so it wasn't too bad. All jokes aside, though, when he was talking about the moon bounce, and I said to him, "Well, I've done it. It's something that amateur radio enthusiasts do because it's one of those tick in the box type things that you
it's an initiation, isn't it?
You strive, a rite of passage.
Yeah, you strive to do it because all of a sudden you can say, I have done this, I am that good, I've done it.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
Very much so. And
it's like scoring your first lady.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't go home and tell Dad. You just tell everyone that you can. And I'll be honest, the very first time I did it, I went and told so many people, and they weren't bloody interested. Oh, it's just your radio shit. But anyone that was interested in it was, big pats on the back and all of that type of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing I found funny was he turned around and he wanted all of the data, all of the evidence that leads up to
the raw data.
the
Don't forget
raw
it was
data.
the raw data.
Yeah. So I've come to a decision, and along that whole premise that if he doesn't understand it, must be conspiracy or it's falsified. So I'm going to do the experiment again, and then I'm going to send him a binary file. I'm going to send him a binary file of all the data.
Yeah, and then also send it to him in hexadecimal and see what he makes.
No, because when I
quaternary.
get it,
quaternary.
When I get it, it's all in binary. It's just
ones and zeros.
Yeah, yes or no, signal received or signal not. So I'll give him all the raw data. That's not a problem. And when he can't work it out, it'll be fake.
I still say make it quaternary. Base 4.
Base 4.
Yeah.
Hexadecimal would be fun, but
Well, you're talking math dirty to me now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Hexadecimal is too common.
Yeah, quantitative expression.
Yeah, but let's be honest though, for 5 seconds, hexadecimal is very common, and it works really well on computers. But
Which is why I know it.
But he's not going to be able to work that out either. So it doesn't matter in what format I present the information to him. He's not going to be able to do the mathematics behind it. It's not going to work out to anything he wants it to work out to. So therefore, it's going to be false. And even if he does get the answer, he's not going to know what he's looking at.
Or at best, it'll just be hand waved away.
Yeah. So, and like I think Sean said it on the stream with Red today. Even when he was, I gave him the link to his local amateur radio club in Holland there. So
okay.
So he's got no excuse. I've given him access to all the evidence he wants. All he has to do is get on his, Shanks pony, get on a bus, go there, call them up and say, I'd like to come down for you to show me something. And 99% of them will be more than happy to show someone new what they can do. And but I can see 2 problems. He's not going to like what he sees. He's going to lose it. He's not going to understand it. He's going to rage in front of these individuals, which, to be honest, a good proportion of them will say they're upwards in their 60s, quite a lot of them, because they're retired men that have the time to do the shit all of the time. And at that age, well, they're not going to take no shit from no squirmy little teenager. They're just going to turn around and kick him on his ass and say, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I like being an old man.
I can see it going down that track. They'll show him everything, even if he's a little bit rude or obnoxious, they'll show him everything because, they'll be thinking, oh, yeah, this will be another potential amateur radioist into the fold. And then, when he starts doing that, well, that's pretend. You created that. You made that happen. Where's the other transmitter? and or how can you prove it? And all of those type of questions, they'll just say, see you, mate. And I'll be honest, a lot of the guys that I deal with, they're very polite to you. As long as if you show them respect, they'll show you respect. But once you start doubting their abilities or what they can do, they soon lose all respect, and then with that, all invitations go quickly.
I was just watching Carlos's experiment. It's hard to replicate something from filmed or from footage to real life.
Yeah.
It's always difficult to do that.
Carlos did an awesome job of it, though.
Yeah.
Like, even the camera angles are so close. The landscape that he does and everything like that with, just the sand and the divots and stuff in the sand, it.
I think it's this a bit further on. That one there. What he's replicating there. What was the contentious argument about the shadows in the first place? That they weren't the right angles, or they weren't?
Because they didn't work out because they didn't realise that the camera was doing an actual, I think it's a 270-degree pan or something along those lines. The contention was that on the film, it looks like all of the shadows are not necessarily facing in the same direction.
That's perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, when you see a shadow at a distance, you can always see shadows could be a different direction because of what the object is it's casting the shadow.
But conspiracy, Terry. Conspiracy.
I think
Shadows, conspiracy.
I think a lot of it has to do with. I think a lot of it has to do with the frame of reference because they don't realise the camera is actually doing such a large pan, and there's nothing actually in every scene of the camera to give them a point of reference. They don't understand the cinema photography behind the whole scenario. And because they don't understand, once again, we fall back into that thing that we were saying before. As soon as they don't understand something, well, that's got to be faked. It's got to be a NASA bloody hidden secret or whatever. The Mythbusters actually did this. It would have to be at least 5 years ago now, but they did it at full scale. They measured everything. They used the original pictures, scaled it all. They put in styrofoam rocks and all that type of stuff, so that the moon scene was what was there, and they used trigonometry to make sure that the rocks were the right distance from the camera. They went hell bent to get everything accurate.
Oh, NVIDIA.
In video.
No, NVIDIA.
Oh, the NVIDIA
company
thing.
That did it.
Yeah.
And when they actually did it, surprise, friggin' surprise, the shadows were exactly the same.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. So I don't even know why this even came back up. Why should this one come back up when a prominent show like Mythbusters absolutely debunked the hell out of it? There's been so many people between the first hint of a conspiracy around this until now that have actually gone over it and explained the situation, done reproductions of it, yet still it keeps coming up because they've got nowhere else to go.
Would it be like Chinese whisper effect with these flat earthers, where they hear about it from somebody singular at one time, then it just gets passed on, and are they actually relaying the original
purple elephant dishwasher monkey syndrome?
Yeah. Well,
or it gets lost in translation between each loafer.
I think in some ways, even us joking about like Schulz checks and stuff like that, there are the ones that actually take that serious. So they will take that back to someone else and go, I was on a live stream the other day and I heard that they just cashed their Schulz checks today. And then that will turn around to everyone gets a Schulz check, and it's this never-ending fucking cycle of them taking people out of context, Chinese whispers upon that, and it's just a constant misinterpretation of information because they don't understand. And then that misinterpretation from one person gets explained to someone else. And, well, you get interpretation of interpretation there, and that leaves it wide open to the conspiracy theory.
Has anyone ever done the calculation of what she'll check amount and how many would be getting paid and all that sort of figure? That'd be interesting.
I think someone actually sat down at one stage and worked out that if the average pay of an individual is around about the $25 an hour, and on the premise that the amount of people just in NASA alone to keep it quiet, NASA wouldn't be able to pay for themselves at all.
And the rest of us.
At all, including all of the government authorities and everyone else that may be involved. The Australians, because of course we don't exist because we're just, paid actors and all of that type of stuff.
You can hop in, Bob, if you want, if you've got a spare few minutes to chat. This is where the Aussies hang out. Yeah, we hang out on my channel all the time, Bob. You just got to catch us at the right time of day. Or night.
Or night.
Wherever you are in the world.
Yes, this is a Aussie hangout anomaly. It's like mid-afternoon.
Yeah, I know. I've never tried one this time of the afternoon to see what, because I've got to work out the time zone that suits everyone, and I might do these. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do one first thing in the morning because I'll be still half asleep. In the afternoon, I might be able to squeeze it in from our 3 o'clock, like after Sean's time, till about our dinner time. So that's a couple of hours there. So, and then later on tonight for us again. But I don't know if I can. I won't be able to keep this up all the time. So I'm only just working out getting my sleep patterns back to normal because of other reasons.
That's
other reasons.
When you are awake, you're asleep.
I think I am. They and them. I might be asleep right now.
He has been for the last couple of weeks, that's for sure.
Last couple of months.
Yeah, burning the candle at both ends with Jose and everything else. It's just...
And my sleep pattern's just gone out the window. I've got it. Like I went to bed last night. Let Alan borrow the Zoom for his after show, and I slept right through till 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning. But I think I could have slept for another few more hours.
So what I'm going to do, Terry, is I'll go down to my local amateur radio club that I just so happen to be a member.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go over and talk to some of the greybeards down there, because they're always good for. I'll have to tell them the whole story because I'll make them have coffee come out their nose.
Actually, Peter, I reckon you might get one of them who's actually got a printout of the binary data.
Oh, yeah. No. We'll do it all fresh. They've got everything down there, including the equatorial tracking mount for satellites. So they just have to point it to the moon, tell the computer, it's the moon, follow the moon, and it will do it. It's not hard. And this is the most ridiculous thing about it. Someone can do it with a broomstick and an aerial in the. Oh, sorry, no, it's a bit simplified. Someone can do it with a tripod and a Yagi beam in their backyard. All they need to do is hook the audio output up to into a wave.
An oscilloscope.
Well, no. The oscilloscope's actually the hardest way to do it because it's not recorded or anything like that. So I use this program that actually creates it's called a waterfall. It's like a constantly moving wave of information of everything that's in that frequency width of the audio that you're listening to. And doing it that way, you get you see the traces. There's one here, and then there's one 2 seconds, or 2.5 to 3 seconds later. And then with that, you can use your speed of travel. So you can actually adjust your speed of the way of the waterfall moving, and so how long it takes to get from point A to point B. So therefore, that's 2.7 seconds. You can use a rule on it, and actually, the computer tells you how long it takes to return.
Yeah, but you're forgetting something. One time isn't a variable, and computers are all pre-programmed to suppose the globe.
Well, I actually thought about it the other day. Like, even if I did it, I know where. If I did it all in one whole video, not cut, showed him the aerial pointing at the moon, showed him the computer screen, and had everything kind of all in picture all at once. Pushed the button, sent the pulse. The pulse comes back and it comes up on the screen. He'll just turn around and say, "Oh, how do I know someone else with another transmitter didn't transmit that beat? How do I know that?"
Because he doesn't know how bouncing a signal to the moon works.
Yeah. But do you see where I'm coming from? He's going to look for any piece of any way out of the evidence that I present to him anyway.
Yep.
There is absolutely no point, and that's hence why I said I may as well just send it all to him in binary, because no matter what I present him, he's going to say, "Well, no, I don't agree with this because of that. I don't agree with this because of that. You were using an Icon radio and not a Kenwood." He's just going to pull up the biggest red herring and fallacy to redirect it so he doesn't have to accept it.
Right. So at this stage, shouldn't we just be doing what we agreed to do with Spurs? We'll talk to you if you bring something to the table instead of just rhetoric and obfuscation.
And I think that's a very, very good way of going. If he can bring, and I won't use that P word, I'll say if he can bring evidence to support his claims. And I think that's the gold star. That's where you need to go. They can make as many assertions and claims as they want, but unless they're going to bring evidence to support them, well, they're, as per the scientific method, no, you've got nothing that supports that, so it's dismissed. End of story. Next.
Next.
Yep.
Next.
Hi, everyone.
Hi
There
there.
we are.
We're a bit early, am I?
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on?
Hey, does that mean I go to bed before midnight tonight?
That'd be cool.
I'm not staying here till midnight, that's for sure.
I was about to say, I hope we're not.
Harry, you do as you're told.
Oh, okay.
See you well. Simple as that.
So
Sorry.
will Peter.
Only if Terry tells me.
Terry has to do as he's told, and Peter has to do as what Terry said.
Just so you know, Terry, that trick that we worked out the other night for Alan worked quite well. With Zoom.
To keep it going?
Yep.
What did you do last night, though? You weren't here.
No, I wasn't. I
don't know what they did last night. I think Quasar was there, but I don't know if he was...
I think Quasar was in there, but he wasn't actually doing anything. I think he was asleep.
He was just having his dog snore into the open mic, probably.
Oh, that'd be enough.
Yeah, that would have kept it going. Any sound or video would have kept it going.
So is this the same Zoom link from last night?
No.
Oh.
No, that was gone by the...
Pip asked in the chat, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it is. No, it's not Pip.
No, this was after I was watching Sean's The Truth show, and all the conversations that were happening on that, on the questions that I got more questions than answers, but by the time I get around to thinking of the question, there's more questions that come up.
You need to have a what do I use? There's a program on Windows 10 that I use to just record notes and stuff. It quite organizes them quite well. And I think it would be really good if even both of us, Terry, start recording questions we have when we hear certain things that don't get answered in the moment, because like we've discussed before, there's a lot of assumed knowledge going on when people who know what they're talking about talk, and stuff can go over your head because the basic stuff gets missed.
And the other point with, oh, look at that, that's very pretty.
Who's sharing that?
That's me. That's what you were talking about. Software defined radio. You can see the waterfall.
Yeah. So that's a bit different. Signal. That's a little bit different to what I do. I wonder if I can do it and share.
I have actually a dongle.
Software-defined radio is a little bit different to how I did it. I actually used not a frequency-locked radio, but a standard normal radio. Whereas the waterfall you see there is from left to right, all of the radio frequencies that you're looking at. How I do it.
Specific spectrum, yeah. You can choose how wide.
Yeah, you can choose how wide it goes. So you can choose what frequencies you're looking at. I do the same thing, but for the audio, for the received audio.
Gotcha.
That's doing it that way is really good to catch the Doppler effect as a satellite goes over. For example, whenever I pick up slow scan TV from the ISS, they probably do it every second month. They start transmitting a series of slow scan TV from the ISS as it travels over.
Have you pulled anything from the NOAA satellites?
We're a little bit far south. Oh, I'm way down in Melbourne, so I'm a little bit far south for it. Some of the guys do it, but they use really big dishes to get plenty of gain to do it.
What signal are you getting from a satellite? Are you just bouncing it off a satellite, or are you getting it from a satellite?
So there's two types of satellites. There's ones that just constantly transmit, like your weather satellites. Your weather satellites are constantly transmitting a signal of, normally it's a bit like a fax machine signal, for the best way to describe it.
Yeah, slow scan.
Yeah, it's a slow scan TV. It sounds a lot like a fax machine or really old.
Technology.
Say again, sorry.
It's exactly the same principle of fax.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a multiple different there's a whole heap of different styles of stuff they use to transmit the data. So different modes that they use to transmit the data. Some are raw modes. There's a mode called robot. There's all of the PD modes, which is once again another mode. And in each of these, there are different settings. So it's very hard just to say how does it work, because it is a bit all over the place.
Hey, there's Michigan.
Look at that.
So you're allowed to do this legally by collecting data from the.
You can receive it. You're not breaking any laws. Okay, once it's in the air, it's free for you to receive.
Yeah, you don't have to. There's no encoding or anything.
Everything, like in Australia now, all of our police have now moved over to P25 encrypted digital for their radios. Now, you can actually go out and buy digital radios. However, if you're caught with the P25 encryption on that radio, you're in breach of what's called in Australia the ACMA, which is the equivalent to the United States FAA. And they're the people that control the frequencies, how much power you can use, and all of that type of stuff. So when you're transmitting on those frequencies, though, that's when there's issues that you need to have licenses, regulative, You have things like CB, which is citizen band, which was frequencies that were opened up to anyone to use. But with those, there's regulations that, you know, how much power you can use and stuff like that. That's very nice. I use a very similar system to that one on the right hand side that you for the NORA satellite. I use one very similar to that for for when ISS goes over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What they transmit on, like 100 something megahertz?
I think it's top of my head.
137?
Give me
144.
It's one. I think it's 144,800. Just give me 3 seconds, because I'll bring up my amateur radio stuff. Because
I suppose they're a lot different, those aerials, compared to an old TV aerial.
Surprisingly, not really. A lot of our guys actually use old TV aerials to create them, Terry.
I got one of them on the roof.
So the other thing with the ISS is
I can have one of them in my backyard, the one that was a bit further up.
This one? Yeah, C-band?
No, it was a bit further up again, I see. Up or down?
ISS, actually, it's...
No, go down. You went past it. One on the left there.
This one?
Big's that?
That's a big one.
So ISS actually transmits on a few different frequencies for different stuff. It does an upload for slow scan TV at 145,990, and that's in the VHF band. But generally, I'll just tune to 145,800, and you know, if they're transmitting, it will come over and you'll just receive it.
So is the dish any different to the aerial one, or is it a different signal that you're receiving? You're showing dishes, and you're showing a dish now.
So
you'll have one of them.
Imagine, Terry, the antenna in the middle of a dish. The bit in the middle of the dish is nothing more than an antenna. But if you look at the dish like you do as a reflector on a light, so, you know, like on a headlight of a car. So if you look at the reflector, it focuses the energy all into one point, and vice versa. If you're transmitting out of it, it makes all of the energy go in the one direction. So if you've got just an antenna, a straight stick up in the air, all of the energy is going out in a circle around the antenna. Whereas by using a dish, you can point it very much in one direction, or pick it all up from one direction. So it's a way of focusing it. And obviously, the bigger the dish, the more energy that's caught by the dish, so the more energy that's focused onto the antenna. So you end up getting what's called a gain in the received signal.
The only comparison I can make is with the old Ozstar dish that I've got on the roof, where it was aimed at a certain direction in the sky.
Exactly the same thing, Terry.
The satellite's geostationary, is it the word?
That's correct, yeah.
Are you currently sharing from your phone?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
I find this very interesting. You see, these are some of the coverage of specific areas from a single satellite. Well, there's probably 3, but they have different beams for different areas, so they can provide specific local programming. And you see the shape of the of the beams, how they get skewed
Yeah,
as
they're
they go.
oval shaped because of the angle they're on. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and the best way to describe it, like I said before, is if you've got a torch up in space coming from that geostationary satellite. Well, if you're pointing in a straight line, it's going to be a perfect circle. But if you're pointing on an angle, where the beam hits the Earth, it's going to make more of a ellipse type egg-shaped pattern on the ground.
Yep.
I have to say I was disappointed that when you were all talking about satellites and Jose's yesterday, nobody picked up that flat Earth data was saying that geostationary satellites were all 1 million miles away from Earth.
1 million miles away. Okay.
Yeah, because he was referring to the one at the Lagrange point.
Epic satellite.
Yeah. But he was saying that the satellites are all the geostationary satellites are that far away.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, so that's probably why I didn't comment.
Yeah.
What are they circling the moon? Are
they?
No, the Earth.
It's quite interesting though. If there's a
you haven't got one for Australia?
Why would he?
I'm sorry.
Australia doesn't exist. You're all actors.
You don't exist either.
Well, I want my check, or else I'm going to get the union and go on strike.
Then go on strike. You haven't supplied me with my bacon until I get my shell bacon. You don't get your paychecks.
Gee, Terry, fix up the bacon.
Yeah, but I can't get any bacon at the moment. It's all Canadian bacon.
Oh, that's not bacon. That's ham.
Yes. Terry, I am seriously starting to question your ability to process information.
So
Canadian bacon has never been bacon. It has always been ham. It will always remain ham.
There's a free app called Orbitron, which you can see the location of just about every single satellite and their coverage, when they're going to be visible, when they're going to be when you're going to be able to pick up signal from them.
Yeah, I use a program called TrackSat.
Yeah, TrackSat. That's another one.
Yeah, TrackSat's a lot. I've got an Android phone for those people that have got one out there. TrackSat's really good because it also has the frequencies of what all of the satellites operate at.
It might be X. A TRAX?
No, it's TRACK.
Oh, okay, I thought they might be trying to trick you with the spelling.
No. Sats with an S at the end. With a space in between.
Well, dang. You want to debate me about this?
I'm typing on my keyboard, but it's not working for you.
Perhaps it's.
Yeah, that's it. So that will actually show you It actually gives you a fair bit of information of each. I'll just click on ISS at the moment.
Oh, an item not found. It's a conspiracy here.
Ooh.
It's a conspiracy.
Alrighty then.
I know.
Won't be only able to get it in Australia.
I don't know.
Terry, Mod B-Ball for life. He's got some links that he wants to post, and he's safe. He doesn't post anything dodgy.
There you go.
We're showing you ours, so you show us yours.
So the good thing about these, pretty much all of these different apps anyway, is that it gives you all the information about it, including the speed and the location, the longitude, the aperture, the velocity of it at the moment, you know, the inclination of where you're going to see it coming up from and all that type of stuff. So then it goes on to, you can actually click on its next passes, so that if you pick the passes that are at night time, you can hit the button, and then when your phone goes ding, you go outside. It gives you about 5 minutes to set yourself up so you know where it's going to be coming from, and you can watch these satellites fly over. And then on top of that, it's got all the radio information as you know, so like the upload and the download frequencies for any data that it does. Then if, for example, the ISS also does slow scan TV. The ISS also has three different radio sets of frequencies that they use, because they use one frequency to transmit up to it and one frequency to transmit down from it. Depending on location, like for example, when it's in Australia, it uses a different frequency to when it's going over America, and it also uses sometimes a different frequency when it goes over Russia. But it's also got built-in repeater capabilities on the ISS as well, so you can actually use it just like a normal satellite, transmit information up to it, and it transmits the information back down. So that, you know, if you can imagine that, like I said before, that whole idea of the light, if you're transmitting up to the International Space Station, working on the whole principle of line of sight, the line of sight from up there is a lot bigger than the line of sight from being down on the ground. So you can transmit over a lot larger area.
But isn't sending a signal to the ISS pointless when there's nobody inside it?
Look, it's fine to do. Like at the moment, you can use the repeater functions. So all that does is you transmit up to it, and it transmits the same whatever you say back down to Earth on a different frequency. So it goes further. The ISS itself's got computer systems that are hooked up to one of their radios, so it's constantly it can stream data backwards and forwards.
And just out of interest, right? How long does that signal take?
Right, so generally speaking, it takes around about the 90-minute mark for the ISS to go around. No.
If you send a signal to the ISS and get the return signal somewhere else, how long does that take?
Look, there's an audible delay, so it's probably, I've never actually measured that one, but look, you can hear the delay, so it's probably only a few seconds or something, you know, like maybe up to a second. It's not that long. But yeah, because, well, it takes 2.5 seconds to go to the moon and back. So to go to the ISS and back, it only takes, you know, less than a second type of thing. But there is, generally speaking, they'll always have a ham operator on the ISS, or at least someone qualified to use the transmitting equipment. And if they're an amateur up there, and there's been a few now, they'll get on their off time, in their downtime, and they'll play on the radio on there as they're going around the world. But each location, look, I think you only average a few minutes worth of transmission time, depending on obviously the elevation and how well it passes over you. You know, you might get a 10-minute pass where you can see it. So you'll get 10 minutes. Generally speaking, with a slow scan TV, you'll get, I don't know, 2.5 pictures in that time.
I was just looking through this video to see what relevance we're talking about. Talking about something else.
Is that your daughter swearing in the background, Peter?
Yes, it was. Just a moment.
Where did they get that from?
No, that's them telling them to stop speaking to weirdos on the internet and go and do something useful.
You were mentioning it before, Peter, about what you were doing with the receiving with the signals, getting you sending a signal to it to come back.
Yep.
But we're gonna. I was going to elaborate on the other bit to do with that, where the signal can come back to you because of the movement of the moon and the Earth and things like that.
So,
but what's the extent of where the signal can get bounced off and somebody else can pick up the same signal? Is that a bit too variable, or is it hard to...
Look, there's... look, I'll just grab a link that I've got over in Discord, Terry, and I'll post it in here. There's a group of guys in Australia here that have actually done that. They they were using 10 gigahertz as their frequency base. The reason why they use that is because it cuts through the atmosphere so much nicer. The higher you go in frequency, the better, or the easier it is to go through the atmosphere. Your lower frequencies get stuck by the your frequencies below 30 megahertz basically will bounce off the atmosphere. Frequencies above 30 megahertz will start to go through, and the higher you go, the higher frequency you go, the
Are they a shallower wavelength in comparison to a high?
So it's a smaller wavelength. So
yeah.
The easiest way to explain it is, so I'll just post this first. I'll just post it out on YouTube for everyone out there.
Because I'm imagining it in a higher waveform. If it was a higher waveform, it'd just bounce off the atmosphere almost.
So microwave obviously gets their name because they've got a really small wave, and they're around about your 2.4 gig frequency. The old AMCB, which was 27 megahertz, it's around about 11.5 meters in wavelength. So that's from peak to peak. The smaller the wavelength, the easier it is to pass through the atmosphere.
It almost stabs itself through. You might as well say.
Well, if you want to look at it from the point of view that it just slides in between everything, you know, it's the difference between trying to, I don't know, push a post into the ground like a 6-inch fence post, push that straight into the ground, or push a steel dropper into the ground. You know, the thinner one goes through easier. Now I've I've just dropped it in the side chat. I'll drop it in here for anyone that might be interested. These guys, they oops. They used the moon as a satellite. They actually hit the moon with the with using their dish, and I think on this one they actually hit. It's either Europe or Italy or somewhere like that. I can't remember. I've watched so many in the last couple of days to find the best one for Owen to look at. But they show everything that they do, how they line everything up. They go through all the preparation work that they do to do this. And they were speaking to him as clear as day, and he was on the other side of the earth. Now, those higher frequencies, they only travel in line of sight. They had to predict where the moon would be at the best time and bounce the signal off the moon. Now, the thing you've got to remember is to do that, the moon can't be a flat surface. The moon can't be a concave surface, because if it was a concave surface, the signal would only come back to you. It would work the same as a reflector on your bike or something like that. If it was a flat surface, the calculations wouldn't work for it to go around the earth like it does. So in essence, by doing it, they've proved both that the moon's a ball and that the earth's a ball at the same time. That's one of the reasons why flat earthers really hate this. The nature of the moon being a sphere, an oblate spheroid, is that you have to actually hit the moon in the right place for it to bounce straight back at you. You can't just hit the edge. If you hit the edge, it's actually going to bounce off at the wrong angle. You've got to hit it right in the middle.
When you're setting up the instrument, you'd almost have to preset it in advancement of the moon's transit, wouldn't you? Like when you're first initially setting it up, because by the time the moon comes into view, like I've got the crosshairs of the system actually setting up now.
Yeah.
So if you line it up just in front of the moon's transit in its horizontal plane, well then you're ready to. You've got it.
So on that video, they actually use like 2 known points to set up their computer-driven tripod system, so that the computer knows exactly where it is by pointing the satellite at a known location from a known location. The computer can do the rest of the maths for you.
Is it based off an equatorial mount
type
system?
Exactly the same, Terry. Exactly the same. They actually use exactly the same program that your astronomers use to chase starlight, but obviously it's just quicker because it's designed for satellites.
And they can do this day or night, can't they?
That's correct. Yeah.
It wouldn't matter.
Especially with the radio, it doesn't really matter day or night. The frequencies they're using go straight through the atmosphere anyway. If you get down into the lower end of the VHF band, so say around about the 70 megahertz range, you then have to start considering what the atmosphere will be doing at the time, because the losses that you get with the longer wavelengths going through the atmosphere can be significant, so you won't get a return signal.
And what's the duration of the sending the signal? Is it done over a period of time, or is it just a one-off signal that's only sent once?
Well, look, you can do it either way. There's been guys that will just sit there and drop continuous noise at the moon and get the noise straight back again. And, like, let's be honest, it's a bit like a kid with a new toy. Look, I can do this, so I'll do it again. The guys that now I think the video that I show that I dropped in both the side chat, I'll just drop it in YouTube again. They have a little bit of trouble receiving the other guy. So until everything was perfectly lined up, then they could hear him, but he could hear them. It's the thing is because it's a reflection, many people can do it all at the same time without really interfering too much with each other, as long as if their frequencies are different.
Oh, you don't want to cross the streams.
No, don't cross the streams.
Isn't this how they've determined something to do about the moon's moving away or closer or something?
Yeah, so what you can do is, depending on the apogee of the moon at the time, because the moon doesn't actually orbit as a perfect circle around the Earth.
Oh, okay.
It actually has a I can't think of the word, but the
eccentric.
Yeah, that's the word. An eccentric orbit. So, depending on where it is on its orbit, you can get different times of your return signal. So it can, like I said, you can have a return signal from 2.5 seconds through up to 3 seconds. But when you're talking at these signals as traveling at the speed of light, half a second's a fair distance.
You know when it's closer to the Earth and when it's further away?
Well, you can, like, without even doing the test, a lot of those astronomy and lunar apps and stuff that will tell you what phase the moon's in, quite a lot of them will tell you what part of the orbit it's in as well. It's just people don't really realise what they're looking at until they've had it pointed out to them.
Oh, you're talking about apogee and perigee orbits?
Yeah. So a lot of people don't realise what that's about. And because they don't know, they just ignore. Oh, I don't know what that is. I'll just ignore it.
Yeah, the apogee and perigee is dependent on what side of the sun the moon is opposing the Earth on.
Yeah.
From what I remember. So say the sun's on one side of the Earth. If the moon is on the right-hand side of the Earth, it's at apogee, and if it's on the left side of the Earth, it's at perigee, or the other way around. Because it's rarely. So if it's directly opposite the sun, you'll get an eclipse. But that doesn't happen very often.
Oh, hang on. Someone in Flat Earth said that you get one every month.
Yes, I do remember somebody mentioning
every month.
These
you must
initials
get
are AR, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
And you don't see them all because they happen over the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh,
and there's no one ever near them, and they're not reported on any TV station anywhere.
Oh, there's no footage.
No, yeah, right.
Anywho.
it's I find that so remarkable because, like, I think it might have been the US Air Force actually chased a eclipse across America to get as much footage as they could of the eclipse. So if that was happening every month, why would they do something like that?
They like chasing things.
Why have we got a reticule crosshairs on a stream? Who's doing the live marksman demo?
No, it's a center of gravity.
Who's shooting shit?
Well, that's the crosshairs they're using to line up for the. You can just barely see the moon in the background.
All right.
Well, that's the center of gravity.
Yeah, they're going to shoot the moon, but not like that way.
Oh, it was like listening to They and Them on Sean G's trying to explain what it's like looking down the fucking scope of a rifle, how it's exactly the same as looking down a theodolite, yet they couldn't get the reason why it was the same.
Reasons.
Yeah, I think that went right over his head. The fact that there were 2 zeros, and if we were getting, if there was an ether band, that wouldn't be possible. Went straight over both their heads.
Yeah,
but did you hear the bit where he said, where he was asked, has he used a rifle? He says yes, and then he corrected it. Then he had to correct the answer, the about looking down to get the 0 points. He said, "What? You got to look down the barrel."
Even
I've used a rifle.
Yeah, even using iron sights, it's the same thing.
You know what fallacy we need to start throwing at them every time they start using that. So when you use a rifle in the Coriolis effect, do you allow for it when you're taking a long shot? The answer needs to change that we give them to. It depends on if I'm using a left or a right-handed barrel. Because
actually the amount of your deviation would make a difference depending on whether you've got left hand or right hand rifling.
That's right. So you just turn around. Depends on if they use left or right-handed rifling. That's your answer.
Just fuck them.
Oh, that's the idea. Because you give them more information for them to go, oh, I don't understand.
Yeah. You know? And they keep calling Coriolis a force when it's an effect of a force. It's just a semantic, but clarification is what they're always after. We call it the Coriolis effect, but they call it the Coriolis force.
Well, for gravity, I'd like somebody to explain to me without gravity why I also have 2 points of 0 on my rifles.
Yeah. And why when I zero my rifle at 200 meters and I try to shoot something at 500 meters away, the round doesn't hit in the expected spot?
Also, the other question is, if you're not looking directly down the scope, how come you can't see through it?
Stuff and reasons.
Because I've hit targets at 600 meters with a 308, and and this is across a valley, and you actually have to allow for wind deviations, of course, because there is a valley, but you have to make that adjustment by hand.
In reality, the distance that a standard rifle that you use is the shots that are standard individually using a rifle for hunting or target shooting or whatever. The distances they're talking about is going to be so minor.
Minimal.
It's you know,
it's within the variation of the ammunition anyway.
That's correct. But they can't, even if you explain it to them in simple terms like that, well, no, but it's got to. Well, it does, but over like a 2K distance, you're talking about a half, over a mile, you're only talking about a half inch worth of deviation, which is more than acceptable beating zone for any ammunition. When you explain it to them like that, they go, oh, yeah, but no.
Yeah, but what they also don't understand is that most snipers will actually hand load as well.
Yeah.
Specifically because they're going out to those ranges, and with hand loads you'll have much more accuracy because they generally reuse their brass, which also increases the accuracy because you've got less expansion inside the chamber.
So, last year I was in the lucky position with the Defence Force here in Australia. I was involved in a exercise that's run every year called ASAM. It's the Australian, or it's the Australian skills at arms meet. And in essence, we get competitors from almost every defence force throughout Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom. We had Pakistan there. We had Malaysia, Indonesia, China was there. So that it's very almost UN in nature, as in it's everyone who is as part of the defence thing, and it's a big competition because it's a lot of bragging rights if they win. And I spent a little bit of time with the sniper instructors and assessors of who did the scoring of the shoots, and you're very right. The particulars of their ammunition are so individual that they had to introduce a off-the-shelf round and allow them time to go and practice with this off-the-shelf round, just so that there was a level playing field, we'll call it, for all of them.
Level but not flat.
Not flat. I did say playing field. It's only a field that's level.
I was just checking out what B-Ball for Life posted. I was just seeing what was on it.
Oh, slutting around on other people's videos, are you?
Well, I was just seeing if there was anything in it to...
Yes, Fido.
Yeah, I got an objection.
I was just about to say, who's sliding around, and then my dog barked.
No, we weren't talking to the dog. Oh, there's some interesting things on it. I'll have to look at it later to see, because I can see some data coming across like a signal. Something to do with signals, and I can't read it. Words too small.
What's that on, Terry?
That was the last one that the B-Ball posted. I put it in homework, so it's
okay.
Find it. Keep a record of it, what I'm looking at.
Oh, because apparently you can't see things due to atmosphere.
Yep, we can see a plane and things like that going across the sky.
I find it remarkable that they always use atmosphere as the excuse for things disappearing over the horizon, where obviously they haven't actually sat down and actually studied much about it at all. They just hit that assertion button and just spoke out loud, before, engage mouth before brain type syndrome, because if they had a look at how the atmosphere reflects and refracts the light,
you can't measure it. You can't use standard for something that's always changing.
And that's it. But generally speaking, it's actually working to help them see more of what's over the horizon, because it has that lensing effect.
I have been asking Travis this one question for weeks now.
Yep.
If the atmosphere stops you at sea level, seeing things after 3.5 miles, for all the difference in the density, why are we still able to see things at 20 miles if we look up at a 5 degree or 10 degree angle into the sky?
So, and with that, here's another good thing for you to use. If the atmosphere does in fact affect you seeing any further than that distance, whatever he states, why is it then that when stars and or planets rise from the east, which can be measured and are known distances away from the Earth, why is it that you can see them rise?
No, you can't, because you don't know what they are. Nobody's
Oh.
been there. You haven't got
Oh.
a tape measure to go and measure them, so you don't know.
My stick's not long enough to reach them. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, but this was the question that I also would like an answer to. Why are you so cherry picked on one topic, and why do you not look at the contradiction then that causes for everything else that is observed?
Well, here's one that might really upset them. Now, I'm probably going to get my dates wrong here, so I won't actually say dates, but I think it was around about the 1950s. Our Earth received these wonderful signals from somewhere, and they were retransmitting signals that were, I think there was something like 5 odd years old. What had happened is the signals from Earth had gone out, got caught in, they assume maybe between a couple of meteorites or at the asteroid belt or something like that, bounced back, and everything just happened to line up perfectly for the signals all to come back. And there was a lot of TV and a lot of radio that was all received back from nowhere. And it was all interfering with the parent station that the signal originally came from. So if there's nothing out there, where did it go and who sent it back?
It was just ricocheting around the inside of the dome.
Oh, yeah. Highly unlikely, but they probably would say something like that.
I've been trying to find some videos which I've only seen one, but I can't remember who did it, and I want to find some more if I can find it. How zoom compression works at a distance and how it can affect what you see. I still haven't found the video that was similar to the one I originally found a while back, but if I find some more, I'll put them in my Discord channel and see if I can get something.
I know it'll take a long time, Terry, but your history on YouTube, if you go into it, is there for a long period going back. Okay. So it is. So chances are, if you go into your history on the YouTube app and just start scrolling down, you'll find it again.
Oh, okay. Because it'll take me a lot of searching to try to find it the other way. I don't even know where I've seen it. Because it's a subject in general. It's not just for the horizon problem that they seem to be having, but it's just it just shows how zooming in on something at a distance compresses what you see at the distance. So that's one of the reasons why we see the atmosphere the way we see it at that distance, because we're zoomed in on that. That's not to scale what we're actually seeing.
Has that got to do with because it's going through like so many lenses and it's using the extremities of the lenses, so you're getting that whole lens effect as it's getting more and more zoom?
Well, that's the zooming in on it in the first place, and they're using that to try to debunk us for what we do see, even though we are using the zoom on the horizon effects for either ships or mountains or windmills or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that needs to be explained a little bit more for them, because I think they're misinterpreting what they're seeing.
I'm completely misinterpreting what's been said for the past minute. Does somebody want to run that past me again?
So when you use zoom, correct me if I'm wrong here, Terry, but when you use zoom over and you zoom right out onto something that's far onto the horizon.
You're almost at your maximum zoom on a camera, yeah. Especially at the horizon, where you see ships going over, or anything that's just past the horizon, and anything in the foreground just before it, close to that extreme zoom, things will seem a lot closer together, like compressed, because it's the effect of the zooming. It'd have to be drawn up into a picture or a graph or some sort of example of what I'm talking about.
Terry, just check out the one I posted in Fair Sucker, the Sav of 1 times 50 times zoom.
Which one did you put it in?
It's in Fair Suck. It's actually taken with a phone with a 50 times zoom, but it shows what you're talking about with the compression angles.
But is that all relative to like the?
Yeah, it's a distance shot of the Eiffel Tower.
But it's all because of the imperfections in the lenses and stuff like that.
Well, it's not the imperfection; it's the effect. It's the effect of what you get from when you're zooming in on something.
Yeah. That's why I found this one. This was done 5 years ago using a Huawei P30 Pro, and it has 50 times super zoom. Okay, so this is digital action, which is what most of the flurfs are talking about with our zooming effects.
Can't use digital. That's CGI.
Yes, but right. So, do you get the same effect with optical zoom?
That's what I want to compare it to. I want to do a bit of a comparison with somebody that knows about cameras. We are doing a camera show our Saturday night with Alan, and I'm just wondering if we get time to bring anything up about in cameras effect with the zooming effect with cameras. It might be something to look at.
I think if you ask Alan about it, I'm sure it's something he'd know about.
Yeah. So I'll collect a bit of data about it and we'll throw it on one of our shows. We could even do it on our Saturday night one before Jose or something.
I'll be surprised with optical zoom if you didn't have proportional distortion in the image.
Yeah, well, that's what I don't know. I just know the effect of zooming when you're just zooming normally, just zooming in, that objects at that distance, it'd have to be shown as an example of something. I don't know if we're going to see it in this one or not, but yeah, I can see distortions in the just from looking at that one at 1 time zoom. But I don't know what this guy's actually looking at. It depends on what you need to do it like a measured test. Like the one I seen was somebody did it on a long beach, and there was some cement blocks or something strewn across the beach at a distance so far apart from each other, and when you looked at it just normal viewing through the camera, you could see that there was a certain distance between them all at the distance. I think that, what axis is that called? Your forward front to back axis. And when he zoomed in, the objects looked a lot closer together at that distance, at the zoom distance. I think it's nearly similar to that one, which I don't know if I've still got it, where you zoom in on the ball, like for the satellite pictures that people get mixed up with. When they have a picture of the Earth and they see America, it looks like it's 3 times bigger than what it should be, but yet you look at other pictures and America's a bit more normal size. It's the zooming in effect that can change the aspect ratio of an object. I'll have a look and see. I think it's all to do with a similar thing, but not necessarily the same. we'd have to listen to what he's explaining here in some aspect, but just viewing it, we should have been able to see something, because there was a picture there of the Eiffel Towers, so, and of that, using different. So what you're seeing is different to what you're seeing in each one.
I didn't realise Globebusters had done a attempted debunk video on EME stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, attempted. Remember that.
Yeah.
Let's see if I've got.
I can't make it work with my mobile phone, so it doesn't work.
No, fair enough. I'm on my phone, but I couldn't see a big pile wrong with the proportions in those photographs comparing one to the other.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out with that one.
That's what I mean. That's the thing. It's showing that even with a phone digital camera, you're not getting the major distortions that they're talking about. That's the reason I put that in there, is because it shows that even with a mobile phone camera using digital zoom up to 50 times zoom, all you're doing is changing the angular size.
It'll take me a while to try to find what that images that I was talking about. I think they were on. I thought maybe Wolfie might have done it. Check his channel. Yeah, it shows it with a camera zoomed in on a globe, a model globe. How Australia can look bigger than what it is. Anyway.
Right, I get what you mean now. You're talking about the size of the continents changing depending on the. Yes, that's also relative to the distance as well and the zoom that you're using.
Yeah. Yeah, many people have done that whole video with taking a picture of the globe up close and not zoomed in, and then far away and zoomed in, and seen and got the differences of the sizes of continents. So there's that's out there if you want, Terry.
Yeah, that's a different aspect. That's from what I thought Terry was talking about.
Yeah, I'm showing it now.
Where are you showing it? Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Yeah, no, it's all right. That's all right.
You can see too. I'll let you.
Thanks, Terry.
I'm sorry.
I'm there staring at Zoom, going, "Yeah, okay."
I'm sorry. I was leaving you out.
No, I'm just being a smartass.
Oh, you've just put a sticker on the globe there, haven't you, Terry?
Yeah, that's just a sticker. Yeah.
You put an Australia sticker on the globe.
Oh, it got bigger.
Yeah, because you put a
It's
sticker.
like magic.
You put a sticker over the top of Australia, didn't he?
Yeah, I did crop the two pictures. Like, there's the blink test between the two.
This is some kind of satanic magic. This is. Is this Wolfie's video?
Yeah, this is out of Wolfie. Yeah. The ball's the same size as in the globe, and then when you go to the next one, you can see how Australia's smaller. And all it is because you zoomed in on it from a distance, or you shot it close up.
Yeah. We should do more Wolfie videos. They're really good quality.
Yeah.
Wolfie was in our chat the other day in our side chat, and he wouldn't come into Discord because he doesn't use it.
Yeah. The Wolfpack, they communicate via email.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's something we should look at doing, Terry. Maybe approaching the Wolfpack and and highlighting some of their videos for them.
Well, especially these type of things is because I'd like to analyse and discuss the actual experiments or things that show things, regardless of who it's for, whether it's for Flat Earth or us, it doesn't matter.
Well, if you send me your email on Discord, Terry, I can give you forward you their email addresses. I've got them all.
Okay.
So that's like Wolfie, Critical Think, Wade.
Well, I have to format
Wally.
a letter. I'll have to format a letter that sounds professional.
Am I missing someone? Is there someone else?
Yeah, you need to go. I wish to use your videos in my show. Thank you. Bye.
However, I'd also like you to come onto our Zoom whilst we play it.
Yeah.
So that way, if there's any questions or interactions with the community.
Yeah, well, isn't Wolfie, Wally, Critical Think, and Wade all part of the Wolf Pack?
Yes, that's what Leah was saying.
Yeah, I've got all their emails.
Oh, aren't you special?
Yeah, I used to chat with Wally quite a lot. Wally's a lovely man.
He is. He's awesome.
It's probably power to them from staying away from Discord because it is a very, very poisonous.
Yeah, I think that's where Wolfpack have got one up on a lot of us. They do stay out of all the drama and do quality videos that are just sticking to evidence rather than getting personally involved with flirts or any of that stuff. So
yes, and
they do a wonderful job, and I think they're. I nearly used the naughty word.
Their evidence.
Their evidence is it's just so to the point and no nonsense that we really should look at it some more because I think it's more our style as well.
Oh, that's something that shits me about Flat Earthers. They call it evidences.
Evidences? Okay.
Evidence is the plural of evidence. That's why we call them dum-dums, because they don't know how to word.
They English as good as me.
They learned me how to speak the English proper.
Oh dear. I wonder if anyone's ever tried to do a Mars bounce.
Ooh.
You know you have to, like, it needs to be in the right location to be able to do it. Well, it sort of has a bigger orbit than we do.
We just have to wait until it's like close to us. That's not the problem. The problem is going through our atmosphere and then their small amount of atmosphere and then back out of their small amount of atmosphere and back through our atmosphere and hoping nothing gets in the way in between.
Hang on, let me do that horrid thing and use Google.
Pip just posted that Schrodinger's cat did something similar.
What's that? No, I'm going to watch that now, Pip.
I'm watching it now.
Oh, you are? Oh, yeah, he did that. But he did his without swearing.
There we go. There's a lot of stuff out there. Just gathering, it's just editing it and gathering it and collecting.
Yes, but none of it counts unless you have their hand and you're holding it beside you while you're doing it, and to explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it. And even then, they will still reject it.
Okay, Mars' next schedule to be close to Earth will be October 13th, 2020.
I'm hoping flat Earth's over by then, but how far away will it be?
It says it will be at its closest perihelion to us.
Yeah, all right.
So it's not in opposition.
Yeah.
Flat Earth is never going to end.
Yeah, it's like a virus. It will always come back.
When are we going to the moon? 2020, isn't it?
Won't make a difference.
2024.
2024.
Hold the fort for a second. I'll be back in a minute, Peter.
Oh, okay.
It won't make a difference because it'll still be CGA and it's all fake. It's controlled opposition. We have obviously we have the technology to make those pictures more today than we did back in the 60s and 70s.
Because apparently we have massive server farms that are able to do these videos day after day after day after day.
I'm just, yeah, this might be out there, but so they're saying 2024 they're going back to the moon.
Yep.
There has been rumors and conjectures about civilian space flights, not necessarily to the moon, but space flights by that stage as well.
Yeah.
Again, there's an interview of a guy who paid $10 million to go to the ISS. And he was on a radio station with a flat earther, and it didn't matter. He was lying. He was controlled opposition. He was there to sell the narrative.
Well, but what if we put someone like, and I wouldn't actually send Mark because he's no longer respected enough in the flat Earth community.
No, he's a sellout.
Right. So
then they'll just be a sellout. So they were corrupted by the man. They were bribed. They were done X, Y, and Z to. This is the thing. It will make absolutely no difference until you have space flight as readily available as flights across the Pacific.
Nah, that won't work either because Australia's still faking it.
Yeah, but at least then if you're up in space, you'll see it as the Earth rotates.
Well, Elon Musk has spoken about the fact that once we start doing the trips to the moon on a regular basis, he will also have in place Earth orbit flights. That's his plan.
I don't mind if they have the economy seating where they have the automatic opening sunroof.
You mean the Flat Earth Observatory?
No, I mean where they release the satellites from. So they can just sit next to the satellite just before it gets released. I'm happy for that, but
it's the Flat Earth Observatory. You think it's flat?
But all jokes aside, will that make a difference though? You're still going to have individuals, and I won't say any names, but you're going to have uneducated, arrogant individuals that will still believe no matter what. They're going to have their own narrative. They're still going to, now everyone's against me. I'm the same person left.
Yes, and that's why Flat Earth will never die, and it's why there will always be conspiracies, because a small percentage of them are true, and when a small percentage of them are true, there will always be more that are added on to it.
It's funny when you look at the when you look at the stats and stuff like that. There was nowhere near as many conspiracy theories before major incidents, and I'll use Watergate as one of them, because all of a sudden Watergate happened. Oh my God, the government's been lying to us. What else have they been lying about? And I think in some ways that advanced and perpetuated the whole situation of people thinking so outside the box that they're in that realms of just ridiculous.
I don't know. I think it's very hard to go back pre-internet and say what was and wasn't the amount of conspiracies out there, because you didn't have the information that we have today, and obviously that allows for a lot more rapid spreading of information, and simply the fact that you've got so many classified documents still from every government in the world, you're never going to know the amount of shit that they were actually up to.
I suppose realistically, when you look at it from the point of, say, and I'm not taking sides either side of the tail here, but if you look at things like Bigfoot and other things along those lines that can be seen as either a mythical creature that has just been made up. Nessie. Sorry, Pip.
Pip's AFK at the moment.
Yeah, Nessie. No one knows what that original photo actually was except for the person that took it. Yes, there's been plenty of people that have debunked the absolute hell out of it, but things like that, they spread like wildfire because it made people think it was an interesting story.
It's human nature to be interested in things that aren't completely explained. It's our curiosity that drives it. Whether the problem is when people use the mysterious and start turning it into facts that can't be confirmed, that we've got issues, rather than just going, okay, well, we don't know for sure about some things.
Actually, I remember.
But I guess that's where flat Earth gets ridiculous, because we know for sure.
I remember Leonard Nimoy back in the 70s and 80s did what was it called, Mysteries of the World or whatever it was.
I think so.
Yeah, and it was about UFOs, Loch Ness, Bigfoot, and all those sorts of things. But that's how conspiracies got winded back in the 60s and 70s, was news reports or TV programs that said, oh, this is an anomaly that has been found, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden it became a conspiracy, but only a few people would carry it on. Now, with the advent of the internet, and especially with YouTube, conspiracies have just grown by leaps and bounds.
So you remember shows, and I do from my childhood. So Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Mm-hmm.
You also had a show called The Twilight Zone. Now, the Twilight Zone was fully fictitious and quite often used a very loosely based around it's plausible type story that just goes out of control in a spiral.
Yeah, like the Outer Limits.
Yeah, Ripley's Believe It or Not. Well, that actually showed, stories that were unbelievable that were true. And I think, things like that where, like Leah was saying, anything that rises the curiosity of the human being, you're prepared to turn around and go, well, is that real? And if that's real, what else is real?
It's fun too. Like, it makes life a little more interesting and less boring. But with the flat Earth, we've got like a very complicated mix of traits coming together for the perfect storm. It's pretty, like, I think I've said it before, it's pretty normal for us all to kind of get sucked into a little bit of a conspiracy theory here and there. That's normal. Like, plenty of people have gone, oh, well, maybe Princess Diana didn't really die from just a car accident. Maybe there was more to it.
Elvis Presley's still alive, but living in a camper van out in.
He'd be dead by now anyway, by natural causes.
No, Elvis isn't dead. Elvis just went home. They told everybody in Men in Black.
We've all entertained those ideas to different degrees at some stage. That's pretty normal. when we get into this really, really nutty stuff like flat Earth, that's the same type of thinking taken to an extreme.
My favourite thing is when they start using movie physics to explain something in real life.
Music.
I've got a. It's not a conspiracy theory, but it's a theory that I've had that I haven't looked into, but it was just a thought. At one time, a few years back, there was a write-up in the media about education where not a lot of people were coming through school with enough science and math in their education and how that would affect people. And then all of a sudden, Flat Earth came along. And now what is everyone doing with the Flat Earth that are not on the Flat Earth side? Looking at science and math.
I would disagree strongly with that.
Yeah, the vast majority of people don't give a shit about flat Earth one way or the other. They know it's a globe and they just ignore it. They don't know the science behind it. They just accept it's the globe. They haven't looked at it. I guess the average flat earther would go, well, they're idiots because they haven't checked.
But it's not up to them.
But they don't distrust science to that degree, so they just accept it. That's what the average person does. They just go, yeah, whatever. I don't know what it is about us that makes us.
We're sadists.
No, it's not. No. I would disagree there as well, because personal experience over the past 6 months has shown me that a lot of people who accept the Earth as a globe are still very unable to actually look at evidence and actively evaluate it. And even when they're reading comments and shit like this here in chats and on videos, they're not actually looking at what's being said.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're taking out of it exactly what they want to and ignoring any evidence that's presented to them.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Scientific skepticism is a nice label, but there's plenty of people that don't know how to put it into practice. The personal bias. Everyone thinks that they don't have a bias about anything, but we all do. And the personal bias on both sides of the debate is strong.
Can I just address
and
that?
I've done it. We all do it.
Can I just address that? And I think a perfect example of that. Now, I can't remember who it was that did the experiment, and unfortunately, the experiment was flawed because of how he released the information. The data he got back was very corrupted by many people. So what he basically did, he used that app on the mobile phone that does the whole that will give you the latitude, the longitude, the inclination of the moon and all of that type of stuff. You got multiple people to take a picture of the moon all at the same time, or it might have been the sun, I can't remember.
Tommy Gronvald just did a moon and he had a problem with the app.
Yeah. So, number one, he didn't go through the whole explaining to people how important it is to calibrate the app. He should have put down everyone needs to use the same app, not just any app, because not all apps are the same. And I believe he had, looking at the, now was he the one that put both of the waypoints or the angles on both a flat map and a globe map?
I think most people have done to see if it would work.
Yeah, Slice Bar Kane did it too.
Yeah. And now just doing it that way, that you've taken the raw evidence and you've tried to apply it to both models. Now, that is ideally, that's the perfect way to do it. So you aren't showing any bias. But the problem we've got, and what they'll turn around to you and say is, now, even if Slice worked, because I'm pretty sure Slice didn't work either, for the same reason.
No, Sly did the Tosney's experiment, and that worked with. He got over 100. He got over 100 submissions, and when he rejected the ones that hadn't followed the process properly, he ended up with 27 valid results.
Yeah. Okay.
27 out of 100.
So that's human error. Let's be honest. That's human error. They didn't follow the procedure.
Even that would have still gave us enough points of reference if it was done over a big enough area for that amount.
But the problem, like I'm trying to say, Terry, isn't necessarily even the data that we get. Even if all of the data works for our globe model, even if it works, they can just turn around and say, well, who says that that particular style of flat map is what we profess to? You're using the wrong type of flat map.
Yeah, but that's only usually an answer we get when we start a question.
Yeah, but they won't give us even a no one knows. No one can give us a, well, okay, Super Rat's tried, and geez, that's a special one.
But I can see what you're saying. I disagree because regardless of the actual flat map, when you have several readings within one continent, because they have to agree that the road distance between the cities and stuff match, apart from the one idiot that thinks America is only half the size that they say it is. Within that one continent, you're getting confirmation that it's a sphere. But again, there are people that will accept evidence and evaluate it as such, and there are people who would just not. Because again, the simple fact is, we have a photograph of space, or of Earth from space. Regardless of whether we went to the moon or not, we've sent satellites up. We have these pictures, yet they're all rejected. Yeah. So at that point, if they're not willing to accept that we can put unmanned vehicles in, I'm not even talking about putting man on the moon. If they think that all that's fake to that extent, nothing's going to change their mind.
Well, the funny thing is now I've been looking for it for the last couple of weeks, I'll be honest. And I can't find it on YouTube, but I know I've seen it, and I might have seen it on a documentary that's not on YouTube. What you looking for?
What you looking for, boy?
So there was I'm sure it was a documentary, and it was all about not satellites, about telescopes and observations from Earth using telescopes. And it was one of those huge ass nasty bloody telescopes, and for the life of me I can't remember where it was. But they were showing how much magnification that this telescope's got, and they magnified all the way down onto the moon to the lights, to the moon landing sites, so you could make out the moon landing areas, that you could almost, quite confidently say what they were.
But you couldn't resolve the actual lens and stuff.
No, they were better than the ones that are on NASA's sites. And that's why I've kept looking for it, because they're actually better than the pictures that NASA have sent.
Oh, are they the ones from the Hawaiian observatory?
Look, it might be, but I know I've seen it, and I haven't.
Isn't that the same one that shows you the scars on the moon where the things have landed? You can see that you can slightly make out where things have landed on there.
It could be, Terry.
It might be the same one.
I for the life of me, I've been looking and looking and looking, and I haven't really wanted to bring it up until I actually found something. But it's done my head in. I can't find it, and I think I've used every combination of views of the moon landing sites from the Earth, or any combination that I could think of, and obviously all the NASA photos came up, but I'm certain it wasn't those. Now, I might be remembering a movie that I once watched.
No, what I did see was actually the moon, where they could zoom in on it, or the footage or whatever they took, and you can actually see landing of how it's splayed out of things that have hit the moon.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I've been looking for these photos because I'm sure that they're there somewhere. And I've tried YouTube. I've been trying both Explorer and Chrome. And
well, chances are it was a Hawaii. If anyone did it, chances are it was a Hawaiian ones because they have.
Yeah, the Keck Observatory.
Until recently, they have the biggest telescopes. So chances are, if you go onto their website and actually send them an email, if it's them that did the photographs, they'll be able to send you a copy of them.
The only other one that I thought it might have been, but I was fairly certain that they were only a radio telescope, not an actual telescope, a reflective style telescope, was is it the one in the Andes or something like that that's actually built within a cauldron of a volcano or something like that?
Oh, that's the one in
Chile,
Brazil?
Brazil,
Brazil,
maybe.
I
Yeah,
think.
it might be Brazil, but I'm fairly certain that's just a radio telescope. It's not an actual.
Yes, it is. It was the one that was used in Goldeneye.
Yeah, that's just a radio telescope.
Yeah, so that it won't be that then, because this was an optical picture.
Well, then the two biggest ones are there's a set of observatories in Chile that Anthony Subarat's misidentified looking at the North Star, and then there's the big ones in Hawaii. Chances are it's one of those two sets of observatories.
Yep. Okay. Oh, that gives me another point to start looking, because I really want to find that picture, because it's obviously a picture from Earth. You know, and it shows you can make out the landing vehicles on the moon.
Yes, but you realize to illustrate the fact that that is possible with the size of the telescopes that they are using, will be using math, and therefore they will again out and out reject it. And this is it comes back to the point: at what stage do we stop defending the globe and actually tell them to present positive evidence that supports only the flat Earth?
Well, realistically, them, I think that's exactly the way we need to go. We're not going to debunk you. Show us your evidence. Sell it to us. You know, we will be your peers. We are your peers. So, as per the scientific method, present your evidence to your peers.
I don't even think you have to go as far as the scientific method. Just present the evidence that cannot be explained by the current understanding of the globe.
Show us something that works. If the world was flat, that doesn't work. If the world, or works better than if the world was a globe.
Yeah.
This is how it needs to go. I am open to being wrong. Show me your evidence.
Proof.
Show me.
Yeah, but we've got two lines of things that have happened with that. They'll tell us their evidence, and then you get the ones that like to try to show us evidence with shadows that certain person does with shadowing of underneath tables and all that crap. They're not doing the. We have to end up picking apart their experiment what they're showing us, but they don't. They deny that they're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So but the beauty of that though, Terry, is you're not debunking the Earth shape. You're debunking their evidence.
Their experiment.
Their experiment, which is a lot easier to do, only because if they've done it and they've done it wrong, they've done it wrong. End of story. You're not fighting a belief. If you're fighting a belief, it's a very slippery slope.
It's taking a lot of the personal stuff out of it. You just show me evidence, and then when they show it, you say, this is why it's wrong, and then the conversation needs to end.
Yeah.
If it starts going in circles. Yeah. What's your next evidence?
That's
and
wrong,
then
because
it also gets rid of the ones that go, yeah, it's flat, but don't have anything to back it up. Yeah, because there's a lot of them out there that are just driving everyone nuts.
Yeah, right. Let's not talk about Spurs again. That's a conversation. That's that subject over with.
Okay, it's official. There is no telescope on Earth that can see any of the leftovers from the lunar modules.
See, that's what I thought. I didn't think we had a telescope that was powerful enough to do it.
And that's exactly why I said it could have just been a movie that I watched.
Yeah, it's
but
the
I can
LRO.
Remember seeing, I could remember seeing something, and for the life of me, I didn't know if it was from a satellite or if it was just a made up, movie type frames or something like that.
Yeah, but at least you put in a line of inquiry as into, I'm not sure if it did, but I think I saw this.
Oh, I definitely saw it, but I didn't know if it was real or not.
Yeah, so it all came from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter.
Oh, radio, yep.
Yep, at 31 miles.
Oh, well, that's not real either, so I can't use that.
Oh, it's all CGI.
It never got past the glass dome, mate.
Sorry.
So, excuse me. As a young lad, I might have played a lot with a slug gun with my little brother, and occasionally we might have hit a window on the house, and
oops.
And like that happens when you're two young boys and you're frigging around. You lose sight of the thing that's behind the sparrow or whatever you're shooting, and I've always got this image of a slug going through a glass window that, put a hole in it, it cracked the hell out of it, and it made a great big mess. Then after a few seconds, all the glass shards fell out of the window, and I think my ass hurt for about a week afterwards. And Dad made me mow the lawns to pay back for the money of the replacement of the glass. But they've sent all these rockets up, but there's not one scratch, dint, and or bug splat mark of a rocket on this supposed dome.
Yes, but again, their narrative is that they put them out to sea and just let them sink.
Then how come?
I'm sharing.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah, but how come a particular space shuttle entered the Earth's atmosphere and broke up into fucking flames?
Yes, and again, this is where you hit the problem with freedom of speech and not censoring people for questioning the official narrative. But there's two different things. One is, can you question 9/11? Yes. Don't see a problem with that. But when you're stating that it was done as an inside job and nobody was hurt, and you're just pissing on the families and the memories of the people who died, that's where you don't platform people.
Yep.
Because there are some things about 9/11 that I would question. But sure as hell, I don't question the fact that 2 planes flew into the buildings. X number of buildings fell. A hell of a lot of people needlessly lost their lives.
That's exactly right. But you can question the motives and who was involved.
Yes, and the narrative after the events happened. But to actually question the events themselves, you're just a piece of crap.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few flat earthers floating around that their main agenda is this Holocaust stuff, and they're using flat Earth just to kind of get an opportunity. Getting an opportunity to just mention it. I think most of them are smart enough to know that they got to be a little bit careful how they go about it. But there's quite a lot of them. Nathan Thompson, he believes in that shit.
They and them. Who did it today on Sean's? Someone broke into the 9/11 thing, even though we were talking about flat Earth and moon landing.
That was somebody in the chat. So it was. I didn't catch the name of the person.
No, I'm sure Aaron. I think it was Aaron.
No, as stupid as Aaron is, I know. I would like to think that he would understand that Sean would just boot him straight off the panel as soon as he went down that line.
You'd hope so.
I'm going to give Aaron the benefit of the doubt on that one. I think
sorry, my mistake. It was in Jose's.
Was it?
Yeah. I think it was actually Chris Berry.
Yeah, I don't like.
He monologued.
Like they and them said, Arwen wouldn't go down that track. I don't believe he's very, very, very passionate about the flat Earth. He is there because he believes it. And you listen to his tone of voice, forgetting when he has his incidents where he loses his temper. Right? Because let's be honest, everyone has lost their temper. Everyone does it differently. And obviously he hasn't quite got as much control as other people, and that's fine. That's a personal thing, and I'm not going to diss him because of it. But he's very passionate. He believes with every breath he takes that he's on a flat Earth. It's not just a passing phase for him. It's his bread and butter.
No. Well, the fact that he brought up Bob and was shown the description where the actual degrees of the horizon dropped was, and he couldn't accept it.
Yeah.
There's no talking to him anyway. It's that, and that's it.
No, and that's right. There's absolutely nothing you can do to prove it to him one way or the other, because it's the flying spaghetti monster situation. You believe as much as you want, but it doesn't necessarily make it real. And if someone disses your beliefs, you're a lot more likely to turn around and attack in a focused manner, or getting someone angry enough, they will lose total control and just start attacking you back personally. And the ones that do that are the ones that believe it with every bit of their soul. They're not just in there for the shits and giggles. They're not in there just for the passing another conspiracy theory using the coattails of flat Earth.
And that's a systemic problem.
Yeah.
That is, because you're not open to other opinions or ways of thinking about how something actually is.
But these are the people that will most likely go into a debate about it. but these are also the people that you will not ever convert. You may get them to go away and think about something you've said if you say it in a reasonable manner, but you won't change their mind. They have to do it themselves, and hence why Arwen is all, well, show me, prove it to me. I want to see everything. It's because he wants the evidence presented to him on a platter. There you go. There's all the evidence so that he can go, well, I'm wrong. But they don't want to say they're wrong. So they'll fight tooth and nail.
Yeah.
You know,
show me the evidence, but I won't believe your evidence because it doesn't match my reality.
Yeah.
Or my narrative.
Yep. And the more you push them and tell them how stupid they are and how wrong they are, the more they're going to dig their heels in, and the more defensive they're going to get, and the less likely they're going to consider any seeds of doubt you put in their mind.
Especially if you start doing that whole, and I know a lot of people are getting very sick of it, and I know a lot of people are getting burnt out over it. But if you go down that whole line of insulting them directly, that's just going to make them even more pig-headed.
Mm-hmm.
If you can talk to them at the level of a human to a human, a person to a person, and present them with evidence to support what you're saying, that does not support what they're saying, and more to the point, they have to be able to understand it. So whatever you present, you've got to present it in a format that they understand.
Well, that brings it back to what I was saying. You've got to explain it to them at almost a primary school level of explanation. If you try to talk to them at a physics level of an explanation, they'll just go, no, no, no.
Well, no, you've got to present it basically, but without treating them like a child too.
Yeah.
So it's like mutual respect. And I know it's really hard to give them that mutual respect when it's really, really hard to understand how they can think the way they do. And it's easy just to assume, to go that tone, to take it down that condescending level.
Yeah,
but he's not going to get... Yeah. I don't think it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. But the way it is at the moment, not going to work ever. So the only benefit of the way things are at the moment with this kind of rhetoric about how stupid they are is for entertainment. That's the only value it has.
What were you going to say, Daniel?
I would.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's all right. I would disagree slightly in the fact that it's condescending to flat earthers. Just.
Yeah, it's condescending to them if we try to when we try to explain.
No. I'm talking about just purely directed towards them. But you have two different issues. Let's take Travis. Travis, until he gets pushed into his corner, will remain calm. But Travis will not bring physics into the conversation. Right?
No, never.
In a lot of ways, you can have a reasonably leveled conversation with Travis. Right? You go to the other extreme where you get Nathan Thompson, who has read some of the physics books, but doesn't understand what they're actually saying. And you get to a point then where, with all due respect to anyone on our side of this argument, there's very few of them who are able to actually explain the situation and the evidence behind the theories that are being presented at a level that even people that agree with them can understand.
Yes.
And more, there is a condescension within our own community towards anything else. Because I'll freely admit, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yes,
and yet
I understand that.
And I can hear people trying to explain things who are claiming to be far better educated than me. And I know enough to know that's not right. Because they're they have this Dunning-Kruger effect on their own, and this is prevalent. This is becoming more and more prevalent in our own community as well.
Yeah. So it's Dunning-Kruger happening on both sides, but just at different levels, extremes.
Yeah, and the condescension and the corrections of each other are coming into a point. Well,
yeah, I said this to Leah last week.
Yeah.
In a chat conversation, that Dunning-Kruger is starting to come across both sides of the community. People are thinking that they're super confident about what they know, but they get it wrong.
There is an individual that keeps going into Jose's, which is the perfect example of this. The individual I'm talking about, and please don't bring up any names. I'm not here to name and shame.
No.
The individual himself is, I'll use the word intellectual. He's well learned. He speaks eloquently, and he comes across quite confident in anything he says. But if you sit in a chat and just listen to what he says, he quite often makes little mistakes here, little mistakes there, another little mistake here, doesn't quite explain himself well there. He doesn't get his message across, but because he sounds so confident when he speaks, and he speaks over the top of anyone that tries to speak over him, he comes across as if he's knowledgeable about everything.
Oh, is this the room in the house?
He has stated that his knowledge is superior to anybody else's in any hangout he's ever been in.
Really? That's quite a narcissistic statement.
Yes, and he does it every day.
This same person.
I don't know who you guys are talking about because I don't go to Jose's. So,
well,
so whoever I just accused of being a narcissist, I don't know who it is.
Well, like, let's just face it. Everyone, probably even in the chat, even if I didn't say a name and no name's been brought up, we all have our own independent, personal opinions on who it is. And he is. He has said that he's smarter than everyone in this chat at the moment. He has
used chat, those. Leah.
Oh, okay. I'm playing games on my iPad, so I should be paying more attention, shouldn't I? It just shows how relaxed I am live. Okay.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of wrapping it up soon, very soon, anyway.
Yeah, it's getting near everyone's meal time, isn't it? And
yes, very close to meal time.
Well, the only other thing I would bring up is on our side, we need to stop bringing up.
Wait, what?
Who is saying they're smarter than everybody else in the chat?
Unpaid shills is. He keeps saying
it's
me. I
can
understand that.
It's me. I'm smarter than all of you.
Morning, unpaid shills.
I wish it was me, but I know a lot of things, but I'm not an expert on anything.
Because I thought somebody had said Jose.
No.
No.
On Jose's chat, on Jose's streams.
Okay, and who was this?
I don't know. I'm not one.
No names.
I don't.
No names. It's in internal chat.
Okay.
we're getting.
I was going to say. If somebody said that's Jose,
I was thinking of somebody else. Okay.
Because I was going to say, if somebody said that's Jose, then they got Jose wrong.
No, we're not mentioning names or which side of the fence they're on or anything like that. It's just their behaviour and how they come across.
That's a very important thing there, Terry. We're not even mentioning necessarily what side of the fence they play on.
Yeah,
all
but
it
some of
is
us
how
aren't
they
that
come,
dumb.
how the person comes across, and
Okay. I'm just saying it's out there and it's rampant throughout both communities. It's very, very, very rampant. This whole, I know this much, and I think I'm a lot more confident in speaking than everyone else, and therefore I'm going to just talk over bloody everyone, and I'll take control of this conversation and I'll take it my way.
Well, if it's who I think, if it's who I think it is, then if it's who I think it is, then I agree that this person certainly loves the sound of their own voice, and certainly
Yes, that's the person.
well,
however, I can also appreciate the amount of knowledge that's carried behind this person. Certainly not far above and beyond everything that everybody else has, but this person is certainly very knowledgeable.
The only thing I'll say about it is everyone is an expert in their own field.
Yes.
Well, no, some people aren't experts in their own field and will still talk shit. But yeah, everybody who's part of the community has things they know more about, and that's fair enough.
And this is the other thing I think that this community is guilty of: throwing education at people who have a different belief as some sort of authoritative right to call them dumb and stupid and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
because
that's why I
education doesn't equal knowledge.
Yep.
That's why I wanted to bring up that something that affects me on a personal level and has done in the community, and I see Pips just mentioned something in the chat. Now, what happens with mathematics is there seems to be quite an arrogance and assumed knowledge about mathematics. I've done some research into mathematical anxiety. So a lot of people who have been through the education system have extreme anxiety over mathematics because of the way it was taught in school. The sort of thing where you had to stand up in front of the class and recite times tables, and that was a very, very difficult thing for a lot of people. Now, what happens when you get anxiety about mathematics and you are asked a mathematical question in front of people is your working memory goes kaput. So even if you have the knowledge to answer that question, your anxiety is going to prevent you from being able to answer that question. So I have become quite upset about people being called stupid because they don't know something basic mathematically that's put to them in a stream on the spot without any thought to how that might feel for them. I don't think it's a valid way of proving someone is stupid, and why we need to prove someone is stupid in that circumstance I really can't get my head around. Anyway, that's my rant on that one.
I have a funny feeling I know where you're going, but the one example that I would give where I think it's justified, if somebody's talking about triangles and they don't understand that the three angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees.
Yeah, that one's given.
That needs to be that one needs to be pointed out. But yes, I do agree with your sentiment about throwing other mathematics at them when it's not necessarily what they're talking about.
Now, the one with the triangle, I think it's how it's done that's probably the problem. It's purely asked to make them look stupid and humiliate, not to... Am I wrong or not?
Originally, when it was done, it was to see if Anthony Riley had an idea about trigonometry. Okay, so an equilateral triangle will have the exact same angles in all three corners.
Yep.
Okay, and he didn't understand that that's exactly what they were talking about, because they even said it. An equilateral triangle with sides 1, 1, and 1, what are the internal angles? That was the question. And he just, I'll have to get a triangle calculator. And the moment he said that's when they jumped him and went, you tool, you honestly, we set out the example for you. You would have learnt this in year 6.
Yeah.
And you don't know it yet. You claim all this knowledge about how we don't know how to get the sun and
that's
shit.
where it gets complicated, isn't it? It's because they're claiming to be able to understand these things and debunk them, and then they can't answer the basic question. But I guess that's where I'm trying to kind of tease out how it's asked and why it's asked. I think it's getting a bit grey. I understand that. I can see it from both points of view.
Yeah, but earlier on tonight, we were in a hangout with Sean G. Shills, did I or did I not ask you to work something out? Because I didn't have a clue where to even start with the mathematics of working it out.
Exactly. Now, for me, it's a matter of if some person is going to get up and pontificate about how they know things that the entire scientific community does not understand or know, and that, through the history of mankind for quite some time has gotten wrong, and everybody else is wrong and they are right, they better know how to convert meters to kilometers.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, the simple that was a very poignant thing when the question was asked of the individual that you're talking about, of how do you convert meters into kilometers?
But you
question,
divide it and get a smaller number. How does that work?
Yeah. And he couldn't even understand the simple concept of moving a decimal place to change meters into what a meter would be as written as a kilometer.
And not only that, the abuse, the stream of constant abuse continued. Even though he couldn't fathom this, even though he had no clue what anyone was talking about, he continued the abuse of how stupid everyone was and how wrong they were. And this is where I take some issue with people saying, I'm so much smarter than you and I've got everything. Oh really? Put up or shut up. Put your chips in the middle or lay your cards down and walk away. One of the two.
Yeah, I can see it from both sides, and I don't know what the solution is.
For me, though, you're running into a different problem there. And for me, that right, if you're having a conversation with somebody who genuinely believes the Earth is flat, 100%, I agree with you. So I do. But where you have somebody who is obviously got a script, who has got a narrative and is trying to protect an income and doesn't believe the bullshit he's spreading, then I'm sorry, but that person's
fuck them
for any ridicule.
That's right, Leah.
And I think that's where we need to take the time to figure out who is doing it. Who's doing that. And I've said that for a while. You need to figure out where they're coming from. There's 3 different types. There's the Poe, who's just hanging out for the money, and that's it. They're just complete con artists. Then you've got your Jeranism type, your Bob Glowbusters type. They came into it unsure, probably thought it was flat for a while, but they've been around long enough to go, it's a globe, but we're
still going to make money off
an agenda now. We've got an income, and whether they acknowledge it's on a conscious level or not, we don't know. And then you've got the true believer. That's your 3 types, and you need to approach each one in a different way.
That's I can agree with that.
The true believers are the small channels.
I was going to say, on that note, I'm finishing up here, so thanks for everyone for dropping by, and we'll see you later.
It's been a good stream. Thank you very much.
Bye all.
Bye all.
It's been 3-dimensional. Must do this again sometime.
Yeah, I like having you.